Ready, camera one. Hit it.
Good morning, I'm Jim McKay speaking to you live from the Olympics in Munich, West Germany.
Talk me through the day.
Starts with volleyball, then there's boxing.
Good. It's America versus Cuba.
Sure you want to bring in the politics?
It's not about politics, it's about emotions.
Hi John, I'm Hope. I'm from Picture House. We're a group of cinemas here in the UK.
Yeah, I know Picture House.
Great, have you been?
I have, yeah,
Great.
a few times, yeah.
Oh well, you're welcome back at any time.
Thank you.
We're really excited to bring September 5 to our screens. I would just like to get started with the fact that we played Past Lives for 28 weeks.
Oh my God.
Which is kind of a record for us.
Is it?
So I just kind of wanted to make you aware of your impact.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
course.
people, thank all the audience members for going to see it.
They also voted it as their film of the year.
Oh, really?
So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
your impact
fantastic.
is felt at Picture House.
Oh, cool.
Cool. Well, yeah, thank you for the film.
Thank you.
I just kind of wanted to get started with, it's become a bit of a colloquialism almost, that everybody remembers where they were when they found out that X thing happened.
Right.
Which is something I was thinking about a lot when watching the film, as it was kind of so concerned with how a moment is translated by the means of the news to be received by, you know, regular people getting on with their day-to-day lives.
Right.
So I'd love to know if there's a particular bit of reporting around like a pop culture event or a bit of news that stood out to you as a particularly formative experience of how reporting is done around those sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean, mine was certainly 9/11. I was a freshman in college. It was a very pivotal moment. I'd been in the university for a week, I believe. So it's one of those memories that sticks with you. You remember where you were, you remember who was in the room, you remember the feeling, the sounds, the smells, just very, it just, you know, gets chiseled onto your psyche. And since I've been doing this, I've talked to a lot of people who were around in '72 who have a very similar relationship with this event. Mm-hmm. They remember where they were, they remember how it unfolded, they remember hearing Jim McKay deliver the heartbreaking news. It's just one of those things that sits with you. And I think throughout, you know, in history, in everybody's life, at every time, there are moments like this that are, you know, stick with you forever.
What's the situation?
The police are reporting that armed terrorists have attacked the Israeli athletes.
There's a hostage situation going on right now in the Olympic Village. ABC wants news to take over.
Your sports, you're in way over your head.
400 yards away from where this is happening.
We are the only people capable of following it live. This is our story, and we're keeping it.
What do I tell the cameras?
What do you mean?
I mean, can we show someone being shot on live television?
I think it's really interesting you mentioned the sensory thing, because I think, you know, to us on the receiving end of this, there's a lot of, that's kind of what comes to mind. You remember like the room you were in, the people you were with, but you don't consider, and what the film considers so heavily, is all the minutiae that goes into even how a word is being delivered, which I think is so interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, I think in a large part that's because of the conversations with the real Geoff Mason, who, you know, is who I play in the film. He had such clear memories of it, and he remembers having those conversations of, well, what do we call these people? We have, you know, we have to tell this story, and the word terrorist gets thrown out, which is now such a loaded term. But I think it's important to remember the innocence of them, not unaware of, it was just, we need a term to call them. In the years since, obviously, it's taken on a whole new connotation, and we know it's much more nuanced than that. But these were the decisions that they were making on that day, and I'm glad that Tim and Martz in particular had the you know, kind of bold vision to tell it the way it happened.
Completely.
Yeah.
The games are still going on. Within a few hundred yards, 9 terrified living human beings are being held prisoner.
You need to understand how sensitive this situation is.
These are just local cops doing things they have never done before.
It reminded me a lot of some of my favourite films about the behind the scenes of reporting. I'm sure you've heard this one, but it reminded me particularly of the scene in broadcast news where Holly Hunter is kind of considering the artifice around reporting. I think someone's saying, oh, put your boot on again. She's like, no, he already put his boot on. You can't do that again. So I'd love to know, off the back of that, if there are any particularly cinematic references that you look to when making this film.
I mean, the most inspiring for me, more just journalism, was Pakula's All the President's Men in particular. You know, that's print news, so it's a little different. But I think that was kind of my into it. And certainly in a way it was, I saw an opportunity to sort of approach it that way. But there's a lot of films, you know, broadcast news, I wouldn't necessarily call a journalism thriller. It is a story about journalism, but the journalism thriller, you know, Spotlight, our film, Shattered Glass, which with Peter, All the President's Men, obviously. I feel like we were more in that vein.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, and I think what Pakula did with All the President's Men is really kind of set the, I mean, I think it created the entire genre when he did that. And I'm happy that we have a little piece of that, you know.
I'd say it's a pretty big
cinematic
piece.
canon. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, police are on the roof.
Oh, guys.
That's a TV. Or are they seeing what we're seeing?
What are you talking about?
Are the terrorists seeing this?
Our job is to tell the story of these individuals whose lives are at stake.
It's not okay. We made it worse.
It's a madhouse down here.
Speaking of cinematic canon, obviously it's a film concerned with the small screen, but as I said, we're really excited to be bringing it to the big screen, because it really does feel like a film designed for that experience.
I mean, it is.
I'd love to know, I guess, why you think it's important to both see a film like September 5 on the big screen, but also why you value the cinematic experience in general.
I mean, cinema is made for cinema.
It's made for cinema.
You know, I just had and this film, so many films, it's funny, I go around a lot with independent films, and I see the experience when you're at the festival, when you're with other people, and you have that communal experience, and you get to leave the room and talk about it, and have conversations, and go out for a drink after, and you know, if it's emotional, it gives you permission to be emotional in a theater because you see other people doing it, you feel that energy. If it's funny, it gives you permission to laugh. There's just something about the cinema that invites you to be a part of it. And then I see people's reaction who stream it by themselves at home, where they're hitting pause, going to take a shit, coming back, hitting, you know, and it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And it's not intended, you know, that's not how the filmmakers intended it. So I think when you see a film that's meant to be seen in a cinema, you're doing yourself a bit of a disservice by not seeing it in a cinema. You're just never going to get quite the same reaction. You're not going to get that same feeling that you're supposed to get by watching it on your phone.
I mean, amen to that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank
you
you
for this film, and thank you for chatting with us today. It's
Thank
been
you
great.
so much. Great to meet you.
You too.
If they shoot someone on live television, whose story is that? Is it ours or is it theirs?
Thank you for watching Picture House Cinema's unique video content. Hit the subscribe button to be kept up to date with our movie news, cast and crew interviews, highlights, trailers, and lots more.